Welcome into another edition of the Die Hard Sports KC podcast. My name is Matt Thompson, checking in with you as always. And today we're going to be covering the 2024 Kansas City Royals. And before we get started, I'd like to welcome a couple gentlemen that are joining me today. Good friends of mine and Die Hard Royals fans. Lucas Devine has been on with me several times. Welcome back, Lucas.
Thanks, Matt. Glad to be here.
I know you are. And also joining me today, Mr. Brad Beck, huge Royals and Chiefs fan. So is Lucas, though. We're all Royals and Chiefs diehard fans. And looking forward to talking about the 2024 Kansas City Royals. Brad, first time on the podcast. Any openers?
I've got nothing for you.
You got nothing? Fair enough. All right, well, let's jump right in. So the Royals last year were a dismal 56 and 106. 56 wins, 106 losses. Can't get much worse. Lucas and I sat down last March, and we were very optimistic that the team would go 500. And we've got the heart of a champion, but the team did not pan out at all. As the first year with Matt Quintero as the Royals manager. And I like him. I think he's a good fit for the team. It's a young team. And they have surprisingly made a lot of moves this offseason. And it's the biggest, at least in my lifetime, I think, the biggest splash that they've made, or splashes they've made in free agency. The Royals have always been a team in recent years that they build through the organization. And there's a lot of that. They've got a young core of players that came through the system. And their captain, Salvi, came through the system as well. But primarily in the pitching rotation and in the bullpen, they've made a lot of moves. But perhaps the biggest splash they made, surprising Royals fans, came a few weeks back when they signed Bobby Witt Jr. to an 11-year, $288.7 million. That's guaranteed, with the potential to be a 14-year deal. Now, there's a number of options in there. I think he can opt out after years 5, 6, and 7, maybe. I'm not 100% sure on that, but it's a big deal for Royals fans that the John Sherman and company are putting that type of money towards a young player. Guys, any thoughts on the Bobby Witt Jr. Deal?
I about fell out of my chair. I remember looking at that news, immediately calling you, because unprecedented for a Royals team to ever shell out more than $100 million, let alone $200 million for a single player. So, no, I was like I told you, it was like in my top 5 moments of being a Royals fan.
Absolutely.
Was probably watching that news come across the screen. Ever since I was banging the drum for him to be on the opening day roster back in 2021.
Right on.
But yeah, no, it's fantastic.
Yeah, the days of David Glass are gone. We're actually keeping our homegrown talent, and it's a good sight to see for sure.
Yeah, I was so thrilled. I mean, going back, because you always see the big name guys have been traded. I go back to Damon and Beltran and Dye, guys that I really wish they would have kept back in the day. And they managed to keep Mike Sweeney, and he was a great player. But with one great player on a team, you can't win it all. They couldn't keep that core, and to see them make that kind of commitment, not only to Bobby Witt Jr., but to the fans, because that tells me they want to win, and they want to win now. And bringing in these free agents does the same thing. And there's a lot, like I said, we got a lot to talk about, but what are you guys most excited about? We'll start here. As far as the Royals and their opening day lineup go, who are who's your key guy outside of Bobby Witt Jr.? Who do you want to see take another step forward? Because before we came on, we were talking, and with the Royals, it always seems like it's great to see them spending money, but it always feels like it's what if. If this guy can take another step forward, if Brady Singer can bounce back, for example, if Maikel Garcia can take another step forward and become a bona fide major league third baseman after such a successful rookie campaign. But outside of Bobby Witt Jr., who are you looking forward to become a solid number 2 or a big player for the core going forward?
So I think as a Royals fan, you kind of think about 2015, 2014, 13. And when you talk about position players especially, it's you got to have a few guys that are going to be consistent. And I think in terms of this team and who has the ability, I think Vinny if he can stay healthy, which don't see a reason why not, and play the way that he's shown in the minors to be able to, I think he's one. I think you need one of the outfielders to be a consistent player at the plate.
Big money
Consistent,
Merv.
yeah.
Mervil S. Melendez, otherwise known as MJ.
Yeah, he's got a. Yeah, I think he has the best. I don't know if it's the best opportunity or maybe the most pressure to step up this year, but I think you need at least 2 to 3 guys. Salvi, expect him to be there. So what? You got Salvi, Bobby. You need 2, or I feel like 2 to 3 more guys that can put consistent at bats together. So Vinny, MJ, and
I feel like it's got to be
Michael. Yeah.
Michael. Yeah.
I think so. Brad, what do you think about Michael's season last year? He steps up, and he didn't like come through the system as a big name guy, so I like that call right there. Like his bat, and then. Or not, I was going to ask you, what do you think of Michael Massey? Because he's kind of on the bubble here. As long as we're talking about players that need to step forward, is Michael Massey a guy that can win that second base job, or is he somebody that you see not in the future for the Royals?
I had hopes for him
Okay.
when he first came up a couple of years ago. Last year was kind of a disappointment, but hopefully he can turn it around. Because for second base, I think we just need someone steady there.
Yeah.
I mean, coming after Witt, who was just a steady force, wasn't outstanding, didn't knock your socks off, but he was just a steady force there. I think that's just what we need. If Massey can be that, it would be fantastic.
I think defensively is kind of the most important up the middle there, because I'll say it again. You think back to the 2015 with Omar Infante?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Omar Infante, I mean, I loved it personally when they signed him. Thought he would do more at the plate, but he was not much at the plate. But, man, he could play defense.
You guys remember that play, and this is a Matt Thompson theme for sure. I'm going to flashback, but there was a play in Cleveland between Omar Infante and Alcides Escobar where it was a glove flip, bare hand double play that just I spent like 2 hours just watching that. It was such a beautiful thing. So, I mean, defense is important, and the Royals certainly value speed and defense, and that's playing at Kauffman Stadium for the time being, and we'll get into that later. The big yard, they need speed, they need defense, and they need athletes, and that's how we won it in 15. You had several great athletic baseball players that, they were hitting and they're playing small ball, stealing bases, a little bit of pop in there for sure. And let's transition just real quick into some of these acquisitions. So they brought in Michael Wacha, veteran pitcher from San Diego, also signed Seth Lugo. He was with San Diego. They both had really solid seasons last year. And I want to ask you, Brad, about, and Lucas, you can comment on this as well, about one transaction last year that they made, trade they made, bringing over Cole Reagans, who has just, talk about knocking people's socks off, has been amazing. What are your thoughts on Cole Reagans, and how does he fit in this starting rotation for you?
I mean, yeah, he was definitely a surprise when we got him, how good he was last year. I mean, talk about a potential ace. And he's still young. I believe he's 26. But, yeah, I mean, that's just high hopes right there for a Royals fan, seeing someone come in and immediately play the way he did.
Right, and he was in the bullpen in Texas, came in as a starter for the Royals, went 5-2, the 2.64 ERA, and this spring has just been a continuation of that so far. So fingers crossed. Lucas, anything to add on Cole Reagans?
No, I love him. He's this spring he's already touching like 99 miles an hour his first couple starts. It's hilarious to see, but he's a guy that you if he turns into a top 2 pitcher in the rotation this season, that's a bonus. That's a big time trade.
I agree. And Michael Wacha, I like that move as well. You talk about another guy that had a good year last year, 14-4, 3.22 ERA. And I mean, this is what the Royals need to do, because right now there's not much starting pitching talent in the pipeline, and we've waited on guys like Daniel Lynch and Chris Bubich, and I think all of us agree that Brady Singer can have a bounce back year, and there's definitely a lot of talent there. But for a guy who had a great 2022 campaign, he fell way off last year and ended up going 8-11 with a 5.52. This is your projected ace, coming into last year, and just not much there for Singer. So hopefully he can bounce back.
Yeah, with Singer, I think I didn't think at the beginning of spring training when he had guys going to the World Baseball Classic, I didn't really expect much impact there. And I don't know if that was part of the reason the Royals in general started slow, but yeah, it feels like Singer really, I feel like, was the most affected by that because it was just such a weird start to his season. And he went through some good stretches there for a while. It seemed like 2 or 3 starts in a row he'd really lock in, but yeah, him having a bounce back year would be huge for this team.
Yeah, and we were talking before we came on the air, if you will, about our starting 5, and we all agree that opening day, Michael Wacha is going to get the ball, given his experience and coming off the year that he had. If he's healthy, he's your guy. We're going to throw Cole Reagans in the number 2 spot. Seth Lugo comes in at number 3. Seth Lugo, a guy who just had his first full season as a starter last year. I don't know if I said that when I brought him up earlier. So a lot of hope for him as well. We've got Brady Singer, believe it or not, as your number 4, at least at the beginning of the year. And then your number 5, Jordan Lyles, possibly Daniel Lynch, but most likely the veteran experience of Jordan Lyles, even though he's battling a little bit of an injury, but he's day-to-day, and the Royals expect him, I believe, to be just fine. Now let's talk about some other additions. Hunter Renfroe is going to add some power, and I know he's had it was a down year last year, but if he can provide what he did a few years ago with was it the Angels and the Red Sox, and there was a combined year, particularly what he did with the Red Sox was
Spent
fantastic.
a couple weeks with Cincinnati.
Did he really?
Yeah.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, it was not long. It was a little injury. Had the injury bug last year, I think. But I have a special connection with Hunter Renfroe.
Oh, please do tell.
I lived in San Diego when he came up and through the San Diego pipeline.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a time where the Padres were terrible. And man, you could feel it was interesting to be in that city with that kind of prospect coming up through the system, because it felt like Kansas City in the terms of, like, we always have like connections with prospects where it's like, this guy is going to be the guy.
It's probably because until this year, that's all we've had.
and once you have the guy come up, then he hits a couple home runs. It's like, oh, he's here, and then the whole stadium is filled with Hunter Renfroe posters and jerseys, and it was an interesting time. And although his time with San Diego probably didn't end, I don't think he panned out to be, Bobby Witt Jr. style, like big contract and everything else. But I really hope he has a good season. I think I've heard multiple times now, every year he's had a full season, he's hit 20-plus home runs. So he's a good bat to have in the lineup.
Very good. Brad, do you see any offense? What do you think about Renfroe, first of all?
I like him if he stays healthy. Yeah, he adds some pop to our lineup, and, you could always use some pop in the lineup.
Right.
The only question I have is defense with him. We've already talked about before we get on here how our outfield is kind of full of
Mediocrity,
yes.
You can try and put it as nice as you want, but yeah, I think we can all agree that there's guys
what
that
ifs.
shows.
Yes, the what ifs.
Yeah, the what if Royals.
I think your least amount of what ifs is Hunter Renfroe.
Yeah,
if he stays healthy, he's going to hit 20 bombs. He's going to play average defense, and
to be fair, these guys had to these guys had to bring me back down to earth and had me use my brain for a few minutes, because I like Kyle Isbell. He seems like a nice enough guy. He plays great defense. His bat drives me insane, and he'll have moments where he hits, for maybe a few days he'll have a good stretch. And I'm probably too high, to be honest, on Drew Waters, but I was trying to talk them into Drew Waters being the opening day guy in center field. And last year, though, I won this argument, Lucas, because remember you said you didn't even think Jackie Bradley Jr. was going to be on the team, and you texted me on opening day and said that I won because he was the starting center fielder. But that goes to your point this year, so because they had him in there for defense last year, and Isbell's your guy defensively in center right now. And it goes back, I already mentioned how much I want MJ Melendez to succeed. I think he's probably your left fielder, and Renfro's in right. That's the way I see it, and it's all the more reason MJ has to take a step forward. And maybe I'm going to go ahead and do something I did back in speaking of a blast from the past, we recorded something back in 2018, I think, and I said, the guy that I really want to see develop his power and make a step forward for the Royals is Georgie Sunlight, Jorge Soler. And he went on to hit 48 home runs the next year.
Yeah, I was there for the record. It was great.
And I know we're bouncing around quite a bit, but we're just trying to have a conversation. And
if we want to talk outfield, I think the biggest storyline is just how many guys that they have. Mm-hmm. Even when we've talked before we started recording, I think I almost completely forgot about Nelson Velasquez.
Right, yeah, we threw him in. Well, speaking of home runs, like Brad was saying, with the pop that was there, Nelson Velasquez came over from the Cubs. Who did we send to the Cubs? Was that Cruz from the bullpen that we sent over there? It doesn't. Nobody expected much from Nelson, and he hit 17 home runs and like 152 at bats or something like that. That's insane. Yeah. So he's earned a look. Now Lucas looked up his stat line from the spring so far.
It's about average for the outfielders. It's which is why I think
average
we're having
for the mediocrity that we're discussing.
That's the conversation we're having. Is you're not going to have unless MJ has a great offensive season. You're not. I don't know who you're expecting. Like Drew Waters is probably who I would expect to have if not the best offensive season from the outfielders. Just because of his
outside
ability.
Of Renfro, of course. Right?
Yeah, and Renfro's definitely more of a power guy than an average guy. So if you're I feel like Waters is the overall more of a total package there. But yeah, it'll be interesting. You got 7 guys that are going to be trying to get on this team that all have, at least from an outsider's fan perspective, they're all very similar players.
Yeah. It's interesting. We talked last year before the season started about the competition, and it's good on one hand to have competition to motivate guys. I don't know if you want 6 guys gunning for the same spot, but it's good to have competition out there. One guy pushing another. And is Rusty Kuntz? I'm going to ask a question that I don't know. I don't even know if he's still with the organization. But
he's out there. I heard the horn honking on an interview the other day.
Oh, nice.
his bike. I heard
he's a great. I went on and on about this last year, so I'll keep it short. But we are very lucky to have him coaching those guys from a defensive standpoint. And I think if Alex Gordon was sitting here next to us, and he's not, he would tell you that he owes Rusty Kuntz a lot for the defensive success that he's had. So let's go ahead and go around the horn here. I want to talk about the captain, Salvador Perez, behind the plate day one, we think. Now, we all agree that he needs to – Salvi's wants to catch – was Lucas that you heard in an interview that he wants to catch 130 games?
Probably. I think it was around there.
I think if the Royals are smart for Salvi, they limit that and they have him DHing quite a bit and maybe playing some first base. But I think, and you guys can jump in here too, the bat is still there. He's raking in spring training, and I think as valuable as he is as a leader and leading his staff, he can still do that from the bench and he can be in meetings and really help to develop Freddie Fermin. So I would like to see him kind of develop or transition more into a DH and first baseman who can still catch several games for if they do it, and I don't think the Royals will, I'd like to see him catch 90 games. I don't know if Salvi will agree to that because he's such a
gamer.
Yeah,
I'm right there with you. We need to preserve his legs somehow, and limiting his catching is the way to do it.
I think my question with that is, I'll be interested to see how they handle the catching position this year. If Salvi, Freddie. And you have Austin Nola in there. I think he's got one option left. I think I read somewhere maybe. So one option to the minors potentially. So maybe he spends some time in AAA and is kind of that reserve catcher for the team. But that'll be an interesting spot this year because it'll be one of those positions that you definitely keep your eye on whenever the lineup comes out each day.
Gotcha. Brad, I'll leave you with first base here. Another position that's so much fun. Not to put you on the hot seat. Welcome to the podcast, Brad. What do you think about, we've talked about Vinny Pasquantino, who had when he first came up in 22, was phenomenal for that short period of time. I think 275 average, 10 homers. I like his approach at the plate. What do you think? Because you've got him, and then you've got a guy like Nick Prado, the former first-round pick. So
I'm a Vinny guy. I love Vinny.
Yeah.
And I hope coming back from this injury that, and apparently he is in spring ball, he's raking again, and I hope that continues. And because 2021 gave us all so much hope that first base position was locked down again. We had, Hosmer in there for so many years. It was just, an everyday. You knew he was going to be there, and he was going to do what he needed to do to help win, win ball games for the Royals. And I think Vinny's bat can do that.
I agree. Yeah, you're not going to see, and to be fair, like Vinny's not going to be, to Brad's point, Vinny's not Eric Hosmer on a defensive scale.
Correct.
But you like his approach. For a young guy, he doesn't seem to, he's a big guy. You look at him and you think power, home runs, which he can provide. But what I like about Vinny Pasquantino is the approach. He doesn't seem to be up there just trying to kill the ball. He'll work the count. He's not afraid to hit it the other way. And then yet you leave a cookie in there, as Rex would say. He'll turn on it and burn you big time. So, yeah, I think I would agree. Now, Prado's interesting to me because I feel like it kind of falls under the Drew Waters category of when he's good, I love what he can do. But that being said, he's had some chances. He's kind of on the bubble now.
Yeah, he's another one of those guys that feels like it's a bubble year. It's MJ, it's Prado, it's Massey, where it's their third year in the big leagues with some time. Yeah, it's interesting. Prado's having a good spring. It seems.
Yeah, he's raking.
And it's one of those guys that I feel like he has an advantage over Vinny in terms of defense because we talk about defense. Oh, no question, defensively, yeah. And he's as much as Vinny will probably work on his defense if he wants to play first base, like he says. I think Prado gets his chance this year. He had looks like about 100 games last year, and because he had some injury in there at the end of the year. Sure. 50 games the year before. So it'll be interesting. It's very interesting, like you said, because I'm a big Vinny guy.
Well, I think we all, yeah.
I love Vinny.
Yeah.
But I just, when I think about the Royals and what they historically have done is give those defensive guys their opportunity. And we'll see. I don't know. It should be an interesting year at first base because he also got Salvi to throw in there. Salvi's going to play some first base. He said it. He did it last year. So, I don't know. It'll be interesting to try and divvy up that time.
You know who's a big Nick Prado fan? Sidebar. Again, shock. Big Nick Prado fan, Mike Sweeney. So you think about first base, and you think about how Mike Sweeney's career started.
He's just a placeholder until Mike's kid gets here.
Oh, that's a dirty move on your part. That's for a later. You wait till the end of the podcast. Shout out to MJ Sweeney, current Texas Longhorn. We're doing some scouting for the Royals. 6'7", left-handed power bat. Oh, get me started. Okay. Man, way to throw me off track, man. Oh, that's beautiful. Okay. That's great. Okay, second base. We've talked a little bit about Michael Massey already. Defense, you were talking about Omar Infante and how in 14 and 15 he was there for more for his defense. And so we'll give – are we going to go ahead and give Michael the nod for opening day and throw Adam Frazier behind him as the backup and just see what kind of start he gets off to?
I feel like that's the case. Yeah. And I like having Adam Frazier there because, man, it's going to put a little pressure. It's going to be some pressure if the team's winning, but, Massey's not having his A stuff at the start of the year. I would not doubt you'd see a lot more Adam Frazier because is he a Gold Glove second baseman?
I don't know if he's Gold Glove.
I don't know if he's Gold Glove.
He's defensive. He's had good offensive years, I know. I think he's like a career 270 guy. I don't know much about him defensively though, and he's kind of had split years where he's a backup, but then he'll jump in there, I think, and he's had a few I don't know if he's ever played a full season, but he's played.
He's been a finalist. My
Yeah.
bad.
Yeah.
So he was a finalist at second base multiple years, 2 years. So I mean,
There's
it's
your
going to put
defense.
some pressure on him.
That is pressure, yeah. I mean, because Massey doesn't have any Gold Gloves, so if he's not hitting, you got somebody that can provide Gold Glove defense.
Let's talk about Gold Glove anyway. With last year's team and how none of them got put up for the Gold Glove. Oh,
We can
that's
call
another
Frank White and
sidebar.
You want Frank White and Harold Reynolds on line too? Because we can talk about how Harold stole that last one from Frank. The Royals need to get some recognition on defense outside of Gordo ripping them off for years in left field and
Salvi
big time.
Which Salvi's been ripped off once or twice himself.
Yes.
Out of a Gold Glove.
Speaking of even going back to Lorenzo Cain should have.
That too.
Yeah, there's.
Ugh.
Should have had the same number of Gold Gloves as we did all.
Bitter Royals fans thinking about 10 years ago.
Every day. Yeah, it's so we talked about Michael Garcia coming in at third, and if he can take another step forward, I love his bat.
Man, you see his winter ball highlights?
I haven't.
Some good stuff there, man. I'd recommend looking it up.
I
He
see
had
those
a good
quick
winter.
hands though.
Quick hands. He's got an attitude about him. He's ready to go.
I like it. I think it's solid, and we'll see what happens in the outfield. Now, for the real mixed bag, the Royals bullpen. We made a list of the bullpen guys here, and closer, welcome home, which I'll go ahead and embarrass myself. I didn't know it was the same Will Smith, so shows you how well prepared I was for this event. But we've got him coming in as your closer on opening day anyway. Setup man is Carlos Hernandez, maybe. I like him as a closer, but
he's got the stuff that just makes you think closer.
just that dirt. Yeah, I mean, just throwing the ball in there 9,900 miles an hour, knock you back.
If you go back to HDH, he's not a bad seventh inning option too.
True. Yeah.
He fits the back end mold. He does.
Who do you throw in as your eighth inning guy? Nick Anderson?
Yeah. J Mac.
Cool.
Mac and cheese.
Yeah.
Mac and cheese. Long
He's
arm.
got that 99 stuff, right? 100 mile an hour, maybe close.
And this is the thing about all these projections and everything is so much is going to happen that somebody's bound to get hurt and somebody's going to step in and have such a big year. But just from where we're sitting, these are the guys that we enjoy or we think are going to be your primary starters and your go-getters to begin with. Daniel Lynch, this is the I've been waiting on Daniel for years, and I still have hope. Of course, I have hope for Chris Bubich, too, when he gets back, but he's on IR, so.
Those two names just...
It hurts.
It feels like they've been here for 15 years, where you hear their name and you're like, man, they're coming through the system, and they are shredded.
They're coming through the system at the big league level. Yeah. And they have moments, but that's the whole thing about can you really consistently put it together? Because you look at Lynch and you think, God, if he could just put together that as a big lefty, like with a nasty breaking stuff and then blow you away with a fastball once in a while, it would be wonderful. But the bullpen's a mixed bag for me, and I don't know enough about... Lucas also threw in Alec Marsh in the bullpen potentially when we were going over it, and
long reliever.
I feel like we threw out like 12 names.
Yeah, it was,
and 7 or 8 are actually going to be on the roster.
Right. Who was the one guy you guys were talking about that didn't have they had no stats for the last year? Is drafted in 17.
Matt Sauer.
This is a podcast where we include all names and give anyone a chance.
Just watch him. He's got a spotless spring now.
What did you say was the player of the week for like the Tampa Tar Heels?
Tarpons.
Pardon me.
Jeez.
I apologize to any Tarpons fans listening right now.
He's had a few great weeks in the minors in the past. Hey, I'll take it.
If
I feel like it's
back
those
mid-season
under.
he's like the guy.
Hey.
I'm going to be really stoked about it.
Yeah, he's on the 40 man. So hey, you never know. Yes, I feel like as Royals fans in general, we always think big names in the minors, but when it comes to pitching, you're always looking at these Lynch and Singer when he was down there, and
You can go back to Danny Duffy even when he came up.
Yeah, a lot of big names that you're watching, but some of those underrated guys that you just don't really hear about, those small moves that the front office makes can make the difference.
Who do you think that guy was last year?
I don't really want to talk about last year, man.
This is the 2024 preview. Why are we looking behind? Let's go ahead and talk about those 56 wins. Every glorious one of them.
I mean, it's a 5-man rotation between injuries and other things. We had about 12 guys start games last year. It's, be fair.
Is now a good time to bring up Donald?
It's time.
Is it a good a time as any?
Matt Thompson wants to bring in Zach Greinke.
Donald Z. Greinke.
Number 5 starter. Just say it.
I'll even put him in the bullpen as a long man. He can tell Daniel to go sit down.
Maybe he can be your opener. I know how much you love that.
Oh, no. I don't like, sarcasm at its finest, Lucas Devine. I don't like this opener crap. The game's been going the same way for all these years, and you're going to, we're going to start a guy for 2 innings, then we're going to put a long guy in, and new age baseball, pitcher's clock, and all
bigger
this crap.
bases. Oh,
it'll ensure more entertainment for the fan. Bigger bases means more steals. That crap goes both ways. So tell me, are they still going to do that stuff in extra innings where they put a guy on second base?
I feel like they said they weren't.
They weren't
do that,
oh,
but
I wish they would.
Again, it's one of those things that games haven't mattered enough in the past couple years, 10 years, that haven't really thought about stuff like that.
I never told you guys the story of when I was out at a Twins-Royals game, like maybe 2008, and we never, those days, we were looking for any victory we could get. We were up like 7-2 going to the 8th inning. And I don't know, there's Renelvis Hernandez or somebody comes in and gives up. I think he gave up 4 runs, so it's 7-6. And who do you bring in 08 when you're down 1 run and you need a stud? There's like somebody like Brett Tomko comes marching out. They blow the lead. We had great seats too. This is when my mom had tickets from the YMCA Stars for like her after school program. They gave us great seats. We're out there. We're finally going to see a winner. And my friend Brandon, who was actually supposed to join us today, was just beside himself because he was not at all a Brett Tomko fan. And they just give it up, and he puts his head in his hands, and then he gets up, and he goes, wait a minute, we're close enough where he can hear me. And he just goes off on poor Brett Tomko, who, I don't think he was trying to throw the game, but it just wasn't meant to be, so I don't even know what got me started on that. I felt the need to throw that story in there as long as we're talking about stuff not to look back on. Let's move forward.
Yes.
Not live in the past like I choose to do so often. Watching games from 2003. Bob Davis games on YouTube, by the way.
Bob Davis.
We'll make you a list. Royals legend.
KU legend, actually.
Don't even go there. This is a Mizzou podcast. We're going to support your university of choice that you're attending, which admittedly you only chose because it was geographically more convenient.
Yeah, that's a lot of stuff in the Midwest.
I'm just trying to hang K you out the dry while I can.
That's the Midwest right there for you.
Make
decisions based on your drive.
Brad's an MU guy.
Yes, I am.
So we got you 2-1. So you can keep your Iowa Hawkeyes stuff.
I mean, Mizzou hasn't won an SEC game this year. And the season's over almost.
What's great about this is I have the power of editing this podcast. You want to talk football? Let's talk about Mizzou.
Let's move forward.
Okay, all right. Royals preview. Thompson Steak Facebook page and YouTube channel. Matt Thompson, Lucas Devine, Brad Beck with you. Moving on. All right. Let's ask Brad. I'll start with you on this one for sure. Where would you, looking at the moves they've made, signing Bobby Wood Jr., bringing all these guys in, making a splash in free agency, where do you expect the Royals to end next year? We're doing this podcast again. What record are we going to be talking about, and will we want to look back?
This is the best part of the podcast.
Let's go.
The record.
I think we're going to win somewhere between 75 80 games. I think.
What's the over under? 72.5. I'm gonna figure that out.
You're asking the wrong guy.
I don't think the Central is strong, so I think we can steal some games there. But I don't think we're going to have a winning record, but it's moving in the right direction. And as a Royals fan, that's all you can hope for.
I think you've given this podcast a sense of realism because the two gentlemen sitting at this table right now.
Not good last time.
What'd you get for like 90 wins last year?
Not quite there.
I don't know if we went 90, but we were definitely like 500 was the basement we were going to build up.
That might have been my guess. Like, God, I don't even want to go back to like 2 or 3 years ago because I was in the same boat as I am.
We've been in the same boat since about 2019 where we see this young talent. And then last year I was all about, I said, my bounce back player was Nicky Lopez, and everybody was telling me to shut up. And then I love Nicky, but I was like, he hit 300. He plays great defense. There's another guy that got snubbed on a Gold Glove.
That's true.
I was all about him, and he didn't do anything. So it's the life of a Royals fan. But we're definitely I agree with Brad. I would like to see this team. If we can go 500, I would be thrilled.
Oh yeah,
73.5.
On the over-under. So. All right. Well, when you win 56...
So Brad's taking the over.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm driving to Kansas. I'm putting some money down.
Well, I'll do mine because
go
since you're the host, you can go last.
Thank you.
Oof. My heart of hearts thinks
97
pitching.
wins.
No, not 97. Close.
Zach Greinke's going to be a 20-game winner. Signed the last week of spring training.
I've thought about this for a while now. And, based on the what ifs, because that's always what the Royals go off of. That's always what I make my pick off of, which is always why I'm off. I'm going to take 83 wins. And I'm thinking that they just, pitching is going to carry them this year. And if they get off to a hot start, I feel like their bats are going to get better as the season goes. So if the pitching can just hold the ship at 500 till May, and then we can start to really build over the summer. 83 wins, and I think sneak into the playoffs.
Oh wow!
Wild card.
Isn't that enough for a wild card? 83, or is that too little?
I think that's too little for a wild card.
You got to be up maybe 80,
AL, I guess
86, 85, 86. I mean, given the team that won the division last year won 87 games to Brad's
That's
point.
a fair point. So if they don't win the division with 83, then I will say they are at least contending into September for a wild card spot. I think they're going to have meaningful baseball in the beginning of September.
I like it, and I'm going to piggyback on the first thing you said, which is how many years do you watch the Royals dig a hole in April and May, and then, they hit a hot spurt in June, but when you're 15 games under 500 by June 10th, it's going to be hard to dig your way out of it. So I like the idea of somehow holding at or around 500 until, June 1st, if you can do it, and then I think I'm probably closer to Brad's prediction than yours. Even though in my heart, I want to say that we're the team to beat in the Central, and all the moves we made are going to work splendidly.
Yeah, I think that's where you're going to make up your ground for sure. If you can hit over 80 wins, it's going to be because you're beating the Central.
Yes, 100%.
Who's your biggest competition in the Central, gentlemen?
Man, this year, it's probably the Twins.
Twins, I would say.
It's probably the Twins.
Cleveland's always interesting to me.
They're kind of falling into that weird.
Could be good.
Young guys coming up, veterans on the back end of their career. Yeah. Kind of weird.
It's like the division as a whole almost, because you look at the White Sox and I don't know what they're doing. I thought they were going to have like a stranglehold on the division a couple of years ago for a while.
And just signed Brad Keller to a minor league deal.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, well, that's what Pedro Grifol does. He just signs all. I like Pedro Grifol. It seems like so's Nicky Lopez is with the White Sox.
Yeah,
Mike Moustakas is raking on spring training.
On a minor league deal there.
Haas retired, but Moose is holding out.
Yeah,
so.
That'll be interesting. The White Sox are basement, I think. Detroit's actually going to be better than people think.
I'd agree with Spencer Torkelson.
That name is probably my favorite name in the division. Torkelson. Every time
For
Denny
a big
says
hitter.
it, Denny Matthews saying Torkelson. Something about that hits my ear different.
Yeah, we don't need to go into Denny Matthews. We've talked enough about. I'm not going to shame a Royals legend on the air.
He's a legend.
I think so much of the Royals' success is going to depend on, can the pitching be there and can the young guys. My two biggest what ifs, if you will, since that's been kind of our theme, is can the guys they brought in and the starting rotation as a whole be solid enough to keep them in games, and then your bullpen's going to play it. We'll see what happens with the bullpen.
It's a complete makeover.
Yeah, but if they can somehow have those guys take the reins and be confident and throw strikes, because nothing makes me more frustrated than watching a game where a pitcher cannot throw a strike, especially in late innings when a guy comes in and the first thing he does is walk a guy. I'm like, well, there's a gift
He
for
comes
you.
out of the bullpen 4 pitches later.
Good start, pal. Yeah, not that I could even come close to probably throwing the ball over the plate, but I'm not making the league minimum. So it's if those guys can step up, if Waka and especially Cole Reagans, I think if he can continue on the trend that and Brady Singer can have a bounce back year, that'll be.
I mean,
huge.
that's talking. That's the thing is, if we hit on 2 guys that have the same years they did last year with Waka and Lugo, and then you get Reagans to have a follow up, not as good as his last 7 or however 10 starts he had, but say he's still great, and then Singer bounces back. Your top 4 pitchers are like sub 4 ERA guys that are just. I mean, it'd be hard for your offense to sink that ship.
If that happens, we're looking more at win total. What you're getting?
Yeah,
Your
that's true.
prediction?
I guess I am a little. That's the pitching right there. Is if the pitching does line up in that fashion.
Because if you have a solid 3,
I mean,
yeah.
3 is enough to with a good offense. 3 is fine.
Well,
4,
look at 15 there.
exactly.
With Shields and
Which I 20.
or not Shields. Excuse me, Volquez. Not Shields is only here in 13, 14.
Guthrie.
Edison Volquez, Jeremy. Have somebody like Jeremy Guthrie who was always solid. He would keep you in a game, but he was realistically a 4 probably. He had it's decent enough.
That's all you need. It's not. You don't need much, and the Royals in the past have just shown you how little production really can hurt. Because you don't need a lot. You don't need a lot to be competitive, but if you don't have it, it's glaringly obvious.
Have you ever heard the Hawk Harrelson line of the Royals of 2015 through probably 17? He's up there just griping. Hawk was always bitching about something, but he's up there and he says, this team just keeps the line moving. They'll just singles you to death. They'll get 20 singles, no home runs, but that's how they beat you. That's Kansas City. My least favorite broadcaster of all time.
I don't expect that to be the case with this team. I think keep the line moving would be a good theme, but I think you're going to have a few guys that are going to come up and truly clear the bases.
Salvi.
Yeah, Salvi.
MJ, Hunter Renfroe. You got some pop.
You got pop in the lineup.
Bobby, Robert Andrew Witt Jr.
Velasquez.
Yeah,
there's some pop there. It's just consistency and we'll see. I don't know. I'm excited for the season to start, as always.
Is now the time to transition to talking about the downtown stadium?
I think it is.
I think so.
All right. I did this last year, and I griped for 10 minutes at the end of the podcast. I'll probably do it again, but I'm going to let you guys go first and try and sell me on it since you're more about it than I am. And Lucas, also please throw in Mark Donovan's comment on the development of Arrowhead and the area around it. But.
I had the same thoughts that everyone else did initially. Was like, man, well, I start off. The Royals are definitely moving.
It's a done deal.
It's
I
a
can
done
cry all I
deal.
want,
And he said, whether it's in Jackson County or not, they're leaving.
Can I? Oh, real quick. Did anybody see the proposal to put it where the mall is?
I heard the rumor. I didn't.
Jeez.
You're
I did
gonna move from there to the
So
mall,
further out to
39th Street,
Independence.
Independence.
Yeah,
That's super enticing.
yeah. Well, I guess it's a little bit more developed. I guess you could have a few more restaurants around.
We've
It's
got
so
an
close.
Applebee's over there.
The B
So
Dub's a
close to
mile
the
away. You're
Target.
great. Yeah.
You can pick up your prescription and go to the game. I can't.
Yeah, but I am a proponent of this just because it's going to happen no matter whether you feel like it should or not. It's going to happen, and now it's just a matter of where. And if I was in Jackson County, I'd vote yes. But I think it's good for the Royals for so many reasons. You have a player like Bobby Witt Jr. who signs long-term on a huge deal.
Sure.
So he's putting his money where his mouth is. He's paying a lot of money for the stadium, which I don't want to get into percentages of what Clark Hunt versus John Sherman is giving to the projects that they're proposing.
Podcast for another day.
Yeah, I love it. Downtown baseball is awesome. If you haven't experienced it, it is definitely the best atmosphere for baseball to be in. I think football can stay out where it is because it's a different atmosphere. It's a different, if you have 82 games a year, downtown baseball provides a lot of opportunities for not only the team but fans coming to the games. So no, a huge fan of it. I think the location is probably the best location in terms of just the end product. There's a lot that's going to go into that. Glad I'm not in that world. But
what is the location that you...
The Crossroads. So the Crossroads is where the proposal's for. And right where the Casey Star building is, that old one, that glass building off 670.
Mm-hmm.
So I love the location. You'll have more than enough parking, promise.
Where?
I promise. We just got to get you downtown.
There's enough parking for the Sprint Center or the
What if
T-Mobile Arena. There's enough
what if
parking.
there's an event?
I was
at
downtown.
T-Mobile. I'm just looking for any
Let me
reason
go.
to not.
I
do
was
this.
downtown.
And I'll share my. Okay, go ahead.
I was downtown Championship Championship game Sunday.
Nice.
It was Disney on Ice. 2 shows.
Is that where you were?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm
2
sorry.
two shows.
You were at Disney on Ice?
Oh, yeah.
During the AFC Championship?
Not during it, no.
So you're a
I went to the
great
one
father.
before it.
You're a great father.
No, we went to the one before it. But there was 2 shows that day, and then that was at T-Mobile.
Mm-hmm.
And then right as we were leaving, the thousands of people that were coming for the Power and Light
yeah.
Chiefs watch party were all there. Got out of there in like 5 minutes, got out. Parking was available. And it'll be cheaper. It'll be cheaper than what you're doing now.
No, that's a selling point. You want to sell me on it?
Yeah, it's like $10. You can find the right garage.
You're like parking at the
$10.
K in 2009.
Yeah, exactly. And it takes just as long as if you park in the far lots at Kaufman. Although you don't have to do that often because there's not much of a full stadium. Fair, but no, it'll be a great experience. My personal interest in their stadium design, and it's my interest in every new stadium in baseball, and it's the one interesting part to me about the actual affects the game.
The urinal?
Dimensions. No,
You want to
not
tell
George Brett.
story,
No.
please? No, finish that. We'll throw that in at the end. I apologize for taking the podcast off the rails so many times.
No, I love dimensions of ballparks and the fields because, Kauffman Stadium, very classic. 410 to center, just a very big oval
330 down the
shape.
left, yeah. 385.
Very,
left center.
big park, everything like that. But I'm curious
almost
if they
like it's-
maintain the big park atmosphere or if they change the dimensions of the field to make it more hitter friendly when you go downtown.
I feel like they got to bring it.
They're going to bring it in, I guarantee it, because more home runs.
Yeah.
Gotta love it. But I'm interested in the field dimensions, the walls, how it affects the game differently than going to Kauffman and having 162 with the Royals team that has a home field at Kauffman versus 162 where you're not spending 81 of those games hitting at one of the hardest ballparks to hit home runs at. So interesting things like that. Obviously,
What about those of us who enjoy a good pitcher's duel? And defense without a lot of home runs. Few and far between.
Those can still happen.
yeah, I mean, you got to
that's
have good
true.
pitching.
Yeah.
There you go. You can't have average pitching, call it a pitcher's duel anymore. So I don't know. I don't see the negatives, and I really don't.
I don't.
Have you ever got on 435 after a Royals game and you're just bumper to bumper?
Yes.
There's so many ways out of downtown. You don't have that.
Yes. I'm right there with you. I think the new location is ideal for the Royals. And it had the best rendering. The other stadium renderings that they were throwing up, I didn't feel like they captured much of the current Kauffman. And
this is where you're selling me, because that's all.
yes, because I love Kauffman Stadium. I think everyone loves Kauffman Stadium. They don't want to see Kauffman Stadium go, but it's gonna happen. It's just we have to just say,
Accept
you know
it.
what, it's gone. The fountains, pretty much all of center field is a fountain.
It's actually pretty cool.
Yes,
If they
it's-
end up doing that.
Yes, it's gonna have the feel of Kauffman in it, and that's what I wanted John Sherman to show us, and he finally did. So I'm on board with it. And Crossroads is my favorite place in KC.
True.
You and Megan can
I'm
play
all
the
for it.
license plates game.
Go to Casual Animal right before the game.
I mean, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
After the game, before the game. I mean, you got so many options
Yeah.
around. You can just walk on
Yeah.
in, watch some ball. Hey, if the game gets out of hand,
Yeah,
to the bar.
go
Yeah.
watch it from the bar.
no longer just going to Denny's.
Yeah.
Don't forget about that Taco Bell next to the Shell station. It is. I will say that these guys have sold me a little bit on it. I'm a big sentimentality guy, so I remember my first opening day. I was 7 years old. My dad takes me to opening day, and nobody probably remembers the name Brian Johnson, but I do, because I remember him hitting a home run, and my dad looking over and said, "Brian Johnson just hit a home run," and all these, watching Carlos Beltran back in the day, and all of it happened there. So, to Brad's point, though, if they can take elements of the K and make this new stadium, it still has the element and the feel of Kauffman Stadium to a point, right? So it's not going to be perfect, but the fountains are a huge deal to have those there. And, I think, right, you're not going to have a 410 center field probably. The walls are going to have to come in. And the other thing is, when you think about it from a business perspective, there are a lot of options, and Jackson County, we will benefit. The Chamber of Commerce will certainly benefit from games downtown, and the businesses will benefit. It'll be better for the economy, the Kansas City economy. So, I'm getting there, and maybe by opening day 2028, I will fully be there.
I understand the sentimental part, and I kind of thought of it as it's interesting to me, because my first game I ever went to was at the ballpark in Arlington. And I love that stadium from my childhood. It was like 2 or 3 years where I really got into baseball, and it was like that stadium held such a special place.
Old school.
And
with the
then,
bleachers.
it wasn't even that old of a stadium.
No.
And they built that new one, and I was just like, man, that sucks. But those memories don't leave. And with the new stadium, some of the first memories that Ellie, my daughter, would have will be at the new stadium. She'll be however old now, but that'll be her first actual memories.
Yeah.
When she,
probably about
say
the
opening
same.
day 28,
Yeah.
that's about the same time I was really diving in.
Yeah.
So then her memories will only be of this new stadium, and she can, we can build on those memories. So,
Yeah.
there was some great times at Kauffman. I did the camp out at the K. That was the greatest thing.
I was
of all
so
time.
jealous
That
of
was
you
so
when you did
cool.
that.
Camp out at the K was so cool.
Brad and I talk a lot
Slept
about
on the field. Come on.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Didn't they play some movies or something?
They did. They played movies on the old Crown Vision before.
Yeah.
Well, they didn't play it on Crown Vision. It was the Jumbotron
Mm-hmm.
thing out in left, and then. See, but that's also different, right? Because you think of when we were kids going to the game, it was so much different than it is now.
Oh yeah.
The
The old
outfield
Crown
experience,
school- yeah.
you didn't have any of that. It was just you go to the game and you'd sit
There's
down
no
and
Pepsi party porch in 1999.
Sit down in the orange
you
seats
just watch the game.
in GA for $5.
They can bring that back. That would be nice. $5 general admission. I'm all over.
Yeah.
It was interesting at Petco Park in San Diego. They have a behind center field, behind all the board and everything. They have a dog park, and it's a dog park that is during games. It's not for dogs, but it's like this grassy area, and so you can get GA tickets real cheap, and then you just go put a towel down, and they have like a giant TV screen like right out past center field, so you're still hearing and feeling the game, and you can go walk and watch it. Or you can just sit in the back, and they have like a bunch of food options, and you can just watch the game from the back there too. It's more of like you're paying to be in the stadium and do that
for the feel.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So there's interesting things you can do with the downtown park.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I think it's the memories for me, like I was saying. And
Yeah.
I know Brad and I talk all the time about, or we've talked several times about the just memories at the K over like games. I think all three of us were at ALCS Game 6, correct?
Correct. Yep.
Yeah. And
Won't forget that one.
Yeah.
no, that one's sticking right there. So, or just different things over the years, fan experiences, the 12 hits for Krispy Kreme. I don't even like Krispy Kreme donuts, but that was
Chanting
awesome.
donuts.
Yeah.
I think 5 more years of bad baseball. We're
We
back
might
in
be,
it. We're back in it.
Another 5 seasons of 55 wins, and you get free donuts when they do spark them.
What's that basketball? Is it the Bucks right now are doing something like that? Where
I did hear about that.
The free throws get them chicken nuggets or something
like
like that.
Something's very similar,
Yes.
yeah.
Giannis was taking a photo of, because they got it, so he can get the code too.
Gotta get those chicken nuggets.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, if they could do that, Lucas, I love your point about Ellie too, because that's what it's really about, for me. Memories, and don't get me wrong, I love going out there and I love baseball in general, but the memories you can build with friends and family are huge too, and it'll be a new opportunity, and I'm just gonna have to swallow my
I think about how cool the memories will be that when the stadium's gone, you're like, man, Kauffman Stadium, I was there for Game 6, and I did all this at Kauffman and watched it.
Yeah.
There's some memories. The memories will still be there, and that'll be just as sentimental whether the field's there or not.
I'm going to throw in since we're talking about the demolition of stadiums and final games eventually, do you know who gave up a grand slam in the late innings, if not the last inning, of the final game at Tiger Stadium, Old Tiger Stadium?
That's
99.
Wow,
I'll give you the year.
Wow.
Give you the year.
Wow.
Give you the year. This gentleman still works closely with the Royals, too. I'll give you that.
Wow.
Royals Hall of Famer.
Wow. Sheesh. 99, that's right.
Works
Gubazov.
closely with
Oh.
the Gubazov's a great guess. It's Jeff Montgomery.
My God.
So it is a
Did
good.
he really? Wow.
Yeah, he gave up.
Was that the tail end of his career?
Yeah, 99. I think is his
last
last
year.
year. Yeah,
His last year he gave up.
might have been his last game. He's given up a grand slam. I mean, he did it for the people of Detroit, because somewhere somebody's sitting at a table just like us and saying, "I was there. The stadium wasn't." But Jeff Montgomery gave up a grand slam, and the Tigers won that game, and we just demolished the Royals. And then Comerica Park could finally come into.
And how many memories have they had there? They had a solid stretch at Comerica for a while.
Yeah, it's.
Miguel Cabrera. Wow.
Oh, I'll tell you what.
It'll be interesting.
Well, this is.
We got a few more years to cherish it.
Yeah. Friday night fireworks. Where do you do that? Yeah, I mean,
We can.
yeah. I'm just
did it.
bitter. I'll get there.
Hey, they did it in San Diego, and their fireworks aren't even legal there. They did that. They also did drone shows, which Kansas City does now too.
I haven't been to one of those.
They're pretty cool.
Cool.
Yeah, they're
Pretty
pretty
cool.
neat.
Nice. Well, guys, I think we're all excited for another Royals season and see where it goes. A lot of questions, a lot of what ifs, but as 3 diehard Royals fans, we are looking forward to it. And Lord willing, we'll get out there and see some winning baseball at the K.
Yeah.
And
Playoff episode.
let's do it. Yes. Yeah. A mid-season and a playoff coming soon, right? So, guys, thanks so much for joining me here today, and I really enjoyed it. For Lucas Devine and Brad Beck, my name is Matt Thompson, here with you on the Thompson's Take Facebook page and YouTube channel. Signing off. We'll see you next time, guys.